Ace Atkins is our friend and one of our favorite writers. New book is called The Forsaken, the fourth in the Quinn Colson series. It's set in North Mississippi and in Memphis, in part, in a town that doesn't exist, but then again it does, called Jericho. And you think it maybe it's exaggeration about this part of the country. Then you realize, no, it's completely dead on.
I just wonder how many miles Ace has covered driving these back roads of North Mississippi. And everybody that goes to the coast has one way or another of getting there. And you go through these little places and you see places that are these truck stops and these diners and these
you realize,
trailers out in the middle of nowhere.
It's all real.
And like last time I went through Birmingham a few weeks ago, I went right through the path of where a tornado had gone through.
Yeah,
like Jericho.
Like Jericho.
And that's what probably on Cherry Road. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's unbelievable.
And I was thinking about that book and went, you know, this is the kind of destruction that God hath wrought upon these people, and who knows why.
Great to see you again, my friend.
It's good to see you guys too, and your families will be released very soon. So thank you for having me on again this year. They're safe and unharmed. Everything is good.
Everything is going well for you. The book Cheap Shot, the Robert B. Parker series, the Spencer books. You're writing those, much to the delight of a lot of people who really enjoy them. And the Quinn Colson series has taken off. The New York Times. I'm reading this on Sunday, and I see, oh my gosh, they got this boy in the New York Times, and a really positive review about this, and from a lady, I presume, who is an intellectual type from New York.
Well, she's reviewing the book. You know she is.
Well, yeah. And she really does seem to get it, and the references to this part of the country, the True to Life series, she calls it, and this really is a reflection of the time. And I read this book, it's the fourth one, and I was struck after I had read James Lee Burke's new book, which was almost too intense. I mean, it's just incredible. And then I read this book, and there's definitely an edgier tone to this book. It's meaner, and life is uglier. Yeah. And there's more profanity, and it's edgier, and just it seems to me that people like you that do this kind of art write a reflection of what you see around you.
That's
and it comes out in this.
And as you know, listening to you guys talk this morning, I mean, you truly cannot make this stuff up. And
no.
The local politicians, and what's going on at the police department, and dealing with just the broader issues of corruption and just this town in general. I mean, it's like you love it and you hate it. It's like you love Memphis, but you hate parts of it. And that's kind of the way I feel about parts of the South and part of Mississippi. You love part of it, you celebrate it, you love the music, you love the culture, but there's part of the ingrained society that you just hate and you want to change.
And the corruption at the smaller town level is as overt and pronounced as it is here.
Yeah.
And maybe even more intense and more complicated. So. Yeah, it's just...
And these days, less and less, I think with the destruction of journalism, less and less people are talking about it. And you got to talk about it. You got to expose this stuff. You got to shed some light on it.
Well, we just have decided, screw it. I'm not going to hide behind this anymore. We're going to say what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Because nobody else will.
Yeah.
But guys like you write about it in the new book, The Forsaken, out tomorrow. In bookstores, if they exist, and on the Amazon and on things like that.
When you talk about things that do exist, we've had friends at various and sundry colleges in the SEC, people that are very into their football teams, yet court politicians, let's say, at hunting lodges that are full of guns and whiskey and whores. And if you don't think that's happening, you need to read this book.
How the world works.
Is Johnny Stagg anybody that you knew, or just an amalgam of different knuckleheads and thieves over the years?
He's kind of a combo of those knuckleheads and thieves. I mean, there's a
piece of work.
There's a lot of Johnny Staggs in North Mississippi.
I lived near him.
I know, you could go to every small county in North Mississippi and find a Johnny Stagg, and he's there and he's running things. I think the difference between my Johnny Stagg, the one I write about, is I think he's a little bit cunning, more cunning and a little sharper than most of the Johnny Staggs. Most of these guys are truly morons and knuckleheads and just naked about their graft and their corruption. I think that the thing that's interesting to me about Stagg is he kind of knows who he is, and that's what's fun to write about.
Ace Atkins is our guest. The book is called The Forsaken, the fourth in the Quinn Coulson series. Coulson is a former Army Ranger who comes back to his hometown and becomes the sheriff. His father, and your father was not a stuntman. What inspired Jason Coulson's character? He was a stuntman in the Burt Reynolds films,
Sure.
and an interesting cat unto his own.
I think it was brought up by Ace's love for Cannonball Run and movies like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Smoking in the Bandit.
what I wanted to do. I was asked by my longtime publisher at Putnam's to create a series, do something contemporary, do something in the South, and I was really inspired by those movies that I grew up with. Those great, particularly Burt Reynolds movies,
Art films.
It was the high art films, but they were great. They were great movies. Like a film like White Lightning, terrific.
Gator.
Gator.
Come
Oh,
on.
hell
Gator.
yes.
I mean, Jerry Reed and Smokey and the Bandit. Those films I loved, and so I always thought about these kind of being a modern equivalent to those 1970s crime flicks. That's what I wanted to do. I mean, certainly, with a more literary edge, but that's what I like. I mean, that's what I love to, watch. I'd sit down right now with you guys and watch Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those films.
Yeah.
And so that's how Quinn's father, his really, my entry in this whole thing were those films, and that's why his dad was a stuntman working for Hal Needham, who
Right.
directed several of those films, and that's how you get into the book.
And there are so many layers to this, and so many different storylines and tentacles to this thing. A 40-year-old murder comes up. A black man was wrongly accused and killed,
Yeah.
which is probably as real life as it gets in Mississippi.
It's a true story, and it's also a
It
true
is,
story.
yeah.
It's something that actually happened in my wife's hometown, which is in Statesville, North Carolina, and she brought it to my attention, which was 40 years later, a victim came forward and said that there was a man that had been lynched, killed during the time after she and a friend had been abducted, raped. Both of them had been shot, left for dead. One survived. And a man in the wake of that, this mob mentality that happened, this lynch mob mentality, took a guy out. It was actually connected to a motorcycle gang, killed this guy, and everyone thought justice was served. And law enforcement didn't look at it. Everyone turned, the other way. They said, I guess this is just what happened. And 40 years later, she comes forward and said she's had to live with this thing her whole life. The guy they took out and they beat the hell out of and killed was not the man who actually committed this crime. And so it's all
one
feeds
of
into all
the
coming
yeah.
up. Yeah.
Ace Atkins is here. The book is called The Forsaken. The Born Losers. I was a member of that gang a long time ago.
Yeah. Were you a charter member, or how did you get into it?
No, I was a fake member,
Okay.
and I ran before I got my card because I was afraid. Was it the patch they get or something?
You get a patch.
1%,
if you do,
yeah.
So have you
1%.
been around these people enough to have written about this so accurately, or are you a member of a bike gang now?
I can't talk about
Okay.
it. I mean, you know me. And,
All right.
there's
Some stuff is personal.
It's kind of like Sons of Anarchy, but a lot lazier. So we don't actually go out.
But
and
these
grind.
boys were, I mean, Jesus, you hit this one on the head too. This is like Olive Branch 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Before
And they were
it was
here.
really Olive.
Yeah,
So
I
they
know.
really existed and were there and probably are still there.
Yeah, those guys, they're around. I mean, they really are. They're really prevalent where I used to be a reporter down in Florida. And you saw a lot of those guys, the one percenters and the lifestyle they were living. And during the 70s, of course, that was the heyday. That was the big time. And part of this novel, a good third of it, takes place in 1977.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I was really inspired by, not only the classic Southern action flicks, but also the movie Billy Jack. And the very first Billy Jack film was a film called Born Losers that was about a motorcycle gang. And so it was really my tribute to those Billy Jack films, which I just thought were fantastic.
Well, you've tied many, many different things here in this.
Have you been to the
this great
Denny's
book.
downtown across from the Peabody and had?
You know, I'm committed to my research, and I really take pride that I do all that, but I was not committed to go to the Denny's.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Because they do a deal every year, where you get free pancakes or something, and there's only one.
Yeah.
In this entire
One
town.
pancake?
No, one
Oh,
Denny's, and it's
yeah.
across from the Peabody.
Yeah.
I was passing there one time. I thought this has got to be one of the most depressing places in Memphis.
Indeed
to be.
it is,
And
yes.
it's just a corner booth there. I said I got to do a scene.
And the irony of Johnny Stagg, the biggest redneck on earth, hooking up with his brother, who's a badass from up here, to be his protector and bodyguard.
Oh, yeah.
There's some thick irony there too.
Oh sure.
And
A laugh out loud funny line that I can't repeat on the radio. But
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you tell me off the radio.
there are several of those. But yeah, this one is the first three were great, and people like you, the more you do this, the better you get.
Well, I think the more I appreciate that. I think the more you write about a character and you write about this world, you develop and it gets larger and larger.
Yeah.
And this is a story that I want to continue for a long time. It is one book, but they're interconnected. And this is what a great place to write about. I mean, I sit down and listen to one of your shows in the morning and get ideas for about 5 or 6 different novels. I mean, with all the craziness.
We'll be looking for a check then.
Wait till we
I should say inspired by.
Wait till we tell you the stories about our real life and our real families, and that will add. Jesus, there's a whole book right there.
And would you say this is very Faulkner-like? Would this be?
I don't know if it's Faulkner. I'm not sure. It's more. It's Hunter Thompson and Charles Bukowski and all of that in one big, messy, bloody ball of some kind.
With more drinking.
Well, God, how could you have more with those two? Tell us about C.J. Box. After you were here last time, this book showed up in our mailboxes, and I thought, somebody else that wants to be a writer, great. And I thought, how in the hell? So he goes home and starts to read it, and sent me a text and said, you better get on this quick. And I thought, okay. Well, 8 books later, which I can't stop reading. Yeah. How did you meet this cat, and what is his story?
We're with the same
scared of him.
Same publisher.
I'm scared of him. I'm scared of his best friend Nate Romanowski.
Yeah, I think C.J. Box is one of the best in the business.
He really is.
He's just a phenomenal writer. He's a true professional, great guy. But I love his books.
Yeah.
And I actually will see him on Saturday. I'm going to Houston. We're doing a joint event there. Later on this fall, we're doing a joint event in Atlanta, and he's just a pleasure to be around, but a real consummate pro.
He is a good dude. He's remarkable. So do you read other people that write in the same genre as you, or do you avoid it for fear of replicating?
No, I mean, the thing about it, somebody said one time, that they didn't like to read when they were writing because they felt like it bled into their work and they might be influenced by the other writers or whatever. But, in truth, that's... If I was not reading while I was writing, I never would be reading because I'm writing all the time, So I got to take a book with me, and so I'm reading just like you guys. I'm reading the new C.J. Box. I'm taking that out on the road, and I love it. I mean, that's why I became a writer. I didn't, certainly didn't get into it for the chicks. It's not it's not for the big parties.
And the free beer.
It's not the the groupies don't exist in this world, but. I love the books, and that's how I got into it. I loved Robert Parker, Elmore Leonard, my personal hero. That's what I went. So, I'm reading those books all the time. That's what I dig. I love those great crime novels. And again, I think Box is one of the best guys working today.
He's here Monday, and I read one of them, and it's like doing heroin. I just can't stop reading this work. And I haven't gone in order, which I might regret, but he just seems to get better too with each time.
I just flashed on what it must be like to do a book signing
With
somewhere.
him?
With C.J. Box.
Does he come heavily armed?
Is he going to show up with a falcon sitting on his shoulder or something?
That's the thing that's intimidating about doing the joint event with him, with doing the book signing, is he does come in with the falcon on his shoulder. And it's just,
for real?
And it's not him so much, it's the falcon. The falcon's got kind of an attitude.
Well, the Falcon hood.
When the falcon's done so many of these events, he's kind of gotten got an attitude about him. And he looks at me the whole time. So I'm sitting there trying to sign books.
So the hood's off during the thing?
The hood is off. And he's just, the falcon is staring at me as I'm writing. And, if I talk too much while, Chuck Box is supposed to be talking, the falcon will turn to me. And, I don't know. I don't like the falcon. It just kind of creeps me out.
So his name is Chuck, or is it Charles?
He goes by Chuck, CJ, but Chuck.
Our rep, Sir. With a 50 caliber gun on his side.
Truly one of the nicest guys in the business.
Very good. Well, thank you for bringing him to our world too. So you're currently writing the next Spencer.
I am. I'm about halfway into the next Spencer. So I'm out promoting Tibble.
Do you make yourself get up at 5 o'clock and get coffeed up, and are you one of those guys?
This is kind of my days. I get up around 4 and I do a full workout. I run probably 15, 20 miles.
I think you're lying.
I think he's so full of...
I come in, and then I try to, go through. I try to do some self-improvement, read the classics. I get
tantric yoga. See if you can finally reach
yoga,
it.
And I stand on my head for a good 30 minutes to get the blood flowing.
Good
and then
plan.
I work until sundown.
Right.
And I do it completely nude, which a lot of people don't know. So
So what do you really do?
Oh, I don't. I get up and drink coffee and putz about until I finally, get going and end up at the office, which I work on the Oxford Square. And
Oh, so you aren't at home doing this? You
No,
go
no,
somewhere
no,
else to like a job.
Yeah, there's no way. I've got an office, and I sit down. And I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. I've got this new Spencer story that I'm working on, and it's you know, get that cup of coffee and get those words flowing, and you know, it's a job. I work every day, Monday through Saturday.
Very good. Well, it is a pleasure to see you as always, and we encourage folks who haven't already read these books to do so. The new one is called The Forsaken. It's out tomorrow. A Thursday, not a Tuesday. That's an odd release date.
It is odd.
It's
I
always
never thought
Tuesday.
about that. It is always Tuesday.
But anyway,
Somebody's trying to screw me. What's going on?
it is very strange.
I think it's really out now.
So you're going to be out doing a book tour for a little bit, a short one, you said, like a week?
Yeah, I'm going out to tomorrow. I'll be in San Francisco, and got an event out there, and then I go to Texas, go to Houston, go to Austin, I go out to Phoenix, and then I'm back home, and then I'm here for a little bit, get to work, and then I'm out to the Carolinas.
So the following for a book written in the South doesn't necessarily stay in the South. It expands to the West Coast, East Coast, anybody who reads.
Yeah, I think people are really fascinated by this area, and I think they're
Look at what's on TV right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they
It's
are.
all hillbilly blood and screwing cousins and everything else.
Well, hopefully, there are those things that I try to elevate about the South. You know, hopefully presenting the new South. But as you guys know, as much as you want to defend the South,
No, you
and
can't.
you want to say then you walk into Walmart to go get something, you see somebody there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said, this is just confirming everything that someone in New York City is thinking about
That's
the South.
the
I
absolute
know.
truth.
So you love it and hate it. But,
Yeah.
but people, it's. I think people are fascinated by the Deep South, by Mississippi, by Memphis. I mean, Memphis is an international location. I was in France earlier this year, and when I told people that I live outside Memphis, all they could do is talk about Memphis. You just
Exactly.
say the word Memphis, and you can be in Paris, and people want to talk to you about Elvis
Yes,
Presley
indeed.
and Sun Records.
That is a fact. Yeah, this book, I thought that maybe it was kind of over exaggerated about, and then we drove north up to Nashville,
Yeah.
and stopped at a truck stop on the way. And I told the wife, I said, nope, he's writing about exactly what's happening in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just dead on.
Yeah,
Which
it's-
is good and bad. I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's kind of an outcropping of what I did as a journalist. You know, it's just fun
Yeah.
to go out and look at life and take notes and see these people, and you can't.
I think
believe they
guys like
exist.
you and Mr. Box, who also was a reporter, have a keener sense of detail and ability to put it out there in story form.
It's good training, but like
Yeah.
I said, I think the hardest thing is you're always listening, you're always paying attention to people, always kind of cataloging,
Yeah.
you know, the Denny's down the street, that kind of thing, and sometimes you wish you could turn it off, especially when you're sitting next to somebody that you don't want to sit next to, and you think, God, but this person's driving me crazy, but then you get to put them in a book
Yeah.
later on.
That's why there's beer and cigars. Thanks for the mention of this program in the book. That was a nice little rush to see that.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
You guys
my
are the
friend.
#1 rated show in Tibahaw County. I don't know if you know that or
Well,
not.
that's
There's
really,
at least 4 or 5 listeners.
that means a lot to us. Thank you very much. Ace Atkins, we'll see you tonight at Square Books.
Square Books, 5 o'clock.
All right, sir. We'll see you again very soon. The book is called The Forsaken. It'll be in bookstores and on Amazons and such as that tomorrow.
It was the 3rd of June.